Hello everyone, welcome to my table, and welcome back to the channel. And today I am reading some RPG horror stories. I felt like this video could hold you guys over as I work on other projects and on this and the other channel. So feel free to listen as you do things, and thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing. First up, we have a story called Antagonistic DMing for a New Player by Incognito N7. Longtime DM and player, I had the worst session in my experience yesterday. I joined a local club to play some games and find a potential place for my future campaign. One game that piqued my interest was an ongoing low fantasy criminal urban adventure in 5e. I had a great joy playing Blades in the Dark with a different master before, so I joined. Master told me that in her world magic is prohibited and the party lacks a tank. I decided to roll with a 3rd level human fighter battle master with heavy armor master feats. Apparently the party is stealthy and you can't wear heavy armor in public, so I switched to a medium armor and shield. After the presentation of my character stats and backstory, I was bombarded with strange questions. Why do I need a skill expert feat on fighter? Why do I only have a 12 constitution but a 14 in charisma? She said that my character is not tanky enough despite second wind, 17 AC, and the parry maneuver that I've got. Again, she then tried to dissuade me from playing my character because you were trying to do everything and are not specialized enough. I responded that I enjoyed social encounters and didn't want to take other feats that she proposed to me. Crusher and with an additional superiority die. Should have bailed already, huh? Well, forward to the game. I was a little anxious because it was my first game in this new club. I wasn't introduced to the story or the party's goals, players. Master just started the game recounting the past session with the players, leaving me sitting there and listening. After some time, she introduced my character as sitting on the street talking to an NPC the party already knows. We started a very awkward dialogue about me, and Master insisted that I need to tell all my backstory to these random strangers that my character just met 5 minutes ago. I tried to roleplay some common sense and initial suspicion. What if they work for a band in my backstory, not telling everything about myself, and that's when I was texted by the DM the following message. Don't act like a mysterious guy, nobody likes this. After some play, we went to break, and she again said that my roleplay is bad and players are not enjoying it, but I sensed aggression only from her. Guys at the table were very chill and encouraging. Next scene we started with a heist, and I went alone to scout guards from a different entry of the building. I roleplayed as a passerby, apparently failed my stealth check, no difficulty was assigned by the DM, and got a pursuer. I asked to lead them into a dark alley and ambush there, but again failed my stealth, and we started initiative. I won and attacked with a menacing attack trying to scare him into not calling for help. Master just ignored my attack, it was a 19 damage, and I said I was going to try to hit his neck, and said that he whistled for help. End of round 1, round 2, I am going to first and killing this guy, moving from guards that will soon arrive. Guards arrived immediately, and at the end of the round, after 6 seconds from a whistle sound. It was so strange the other players were shocked too. How could they come so fast? Master just answered they were already nearby and started shooting my character with crossbows. I used my action surge to double my movement and to break the distance, but the guards were shooting crossbows every round on the run. I went through some fences, guards still fired, and managed to roll my stealth check. The DM then asked me to roll a d4, and on a 4 I was free from the guards. Some homebrew rule that I didn't recognize. I didn't know what her motivation was to kill my PC in this scene. Whole chase was chaotic, with no measurement of ranges and positions, just attacks in the dark, every round disregarding my use of environments and skills to break free. After this chase, I tried to reunite with my group, but she said that I'm too slow and will be late, excluding me from the next scene entirely. It was a shocking experience for me. For me, TTRPGs is a place for friends who enjoy playing together, not trying to dominate or sideline someone. I don't understand why she was so aggressive towards my character and me personally. From my guesstimations, I believe the DM was being very confrontational with you, possibly for a couple of reasons. 1, that's just how they play their game with new players, which isn't a good thing. 2, they didn't want you in the game to begin with. You joined a club, and maybe they were good with the amount of people they already had in the game already and didn't want more, but were made to because of the club. Does that give them the right to take it out on you? No, not at all. I think that this was very much a dick move and should not have been done. they should have communicated with you and your character much better than the way that they did. Either that or some sort of superiority complex, but I don't want to get into that. Next story we have, and the last one for today, is from Gullible Tortoise, called The Dangers of Random Groups.
Main problem area is up here. All of this going on up here is what's causing me the most physical discomfort.
Many people who are trying to get into D&D for the first time but don't have a friend group will sympathize with how this story starts. My original group was struggling to get together, especially during the pandemic. Desperate to play, I went to our local RPG store here in the UK to get my D&D fix. This place had a D&D night on Mondays, and I ended up being welcomed into a brand new group. We're 2 sessions into a new campaign, so I had not missed much. I took one of my old characters, leveled them down, and just jumped straight in. Having not been there for the beginning, I have no idea whether a session 0 had been done. I just decided to keep it clean and not ruffle any feathers. This seemed to go well. The group had a good social aspect from what I could see. They had a Discord and most members would chat frequently. The first sign I noticed something might be off is when this group was one of the youngest guys. He can't have been more than 18, was kicked from the group for inappropriate messages to one of the girls in the group. Didn't witness or see anything personally, but that happened after about 5 weeks of playing with them, so we moved on. I should add that the age range of this group of what would at its height be 7 players at one time, GM 8, was being 18 to 45. I sat in the middle because I was 32 at the time. Later I started to notice some players' characters were starting to pair off into relationship stuff. Not a problem really, I don't engage with that kind of stuff and don't begrudge anyone making that kind of choice for their character. The problem we started to have was when the relationships and characters started to boil over to tensions with the players. 2 players had a fling in-game, but when one of the characters broke that off in-game, the other character took it incredibly personally, and it led to almost a full-out argument at the table. This player, it transpired, was also seeing the GM. So when the first player goes to the GM with concerns, they were quickly downplayed and gaslighted. In the end, the GM's partner decided to leave the game and the game continued on. After a month or 2, the GM, in an interesting decision, invites their partner back to the game. They seem to be very apologetic for their past behavior, and like reasonable people, we welcome them back to the group. Now it's where it's really got weird. The GM's partner, as much as any other thing they might have been, was not an experienced player. They were playing a Dampier Warlock and would often complain about being useless in combat, owing to the fact that they burned through their very limited spell slots in the first 2 rounds, and then they just did Eldritch Blast for the rest. I'd be bored too. They asked me and one of the other experienced players for help on how to better utilize their abilities. Upon looking at the character sheet, we discovered that the player had been given a +3 studded armor. What? We're only level 8. Not only that, but they'd been given a +2 Wand of the War Mage. When we questioned them on it, they said that their partner, the GM, said that they could. We instantly went to the GM and said that it was not the best way to utilize a character. Again, we were downplayed and gaslit. We also saw that this player hadn't updated any of their abilities or spells, something which we found the Bard player hadn't done either, who at level 8 was using the spells that they had from level 1. This kind of thing can happen when you have inexperienced players. What we weren't expecting was the GM just to give them any random magic item that they wanted to buff them up. The attitude of the DM's partner continued to downgrade. During combat, even after we fixed the issues with their character sheet, they'd still fail a roll and pout until it was their turn again. As mentioned before, they tried to have a romance with another PC, but it started getting really possessive in character and over their game interest. When this made the player involved uncomfortable, they broke it off in game. This resulted in another argument at the table. The GM's partner just couldn't deal with the rejection and thought it was a reflection on them. In hindsight, it probably was. The GM started openly changing the story to favor what the partner wants. One of the other PCs had an interesting story in which we were exploring in game, and the GM randomly decided to put her partner's character on a long-lost relative. Bearing in mind that these 2 players had clashed when the game first began. The move made no narrative sense, and you could tell all the players, barred the GM and their partner, were disappointed by this move. This also coincided with a failed attempt to have a game away from the cafe at the partner's house, who had moved away from the town we played in and was having to have to Skype in. Due to the DM's car breaking down the day of, we had to cancel. However, the partner decided to have a full-on stroke maybe, in the Discord, claiming that they made it up so they just wouldn't have to travel. Several players told me in confidence later that they were glad the car broke down. With the group starting to grumble amongst themselves, we wondered where the game was going to. A dragon fight where the DM refused to use legendary actions or resistances, making it very easy to defeat, anti-cinematic, and dull. I, the druid, having a wild shaped into a spider so I could avoid triggering webs, and ended up face to face with a giant spider anyway. The bard ran in, cast Speak with Animals, and then the session broke down from what should have been a massive combat into a giant spider giving the druid and the bard marriage counseling. What? Our characters were even together. What? Never been so uncomfortable. A quest for the soul of one of our characters that went into a convoluted exploration of what it means to be a hero and railroaded us in decisions that we as the players or characters otherwise would not have made. While this unsatisfactory gameplay is happening, the GM's partner is getting more and more detached. They are still Skyping in from at this time and having moved away from where the cafe was. They are still engaging less and less with the plot and just spending sessions doing their own thing. The straw that broke the camel's back was when we returned to our home base and ended up hunting for an assassin who just tried to kill us. The GM's partner had said earlier in the session that they had gone off, so the chase goes down and they aren't involved. Once we've finished the chase, the assassin gets away, the GM turns to her partner and says, "Do you want to tell everyone what you've been doing this entire time?" The partner then proceeds to describe, in vivid detail, how they turned into an alleyway and found their character being done from behind by a minotaur. What? Safe to say, that was so completely inappropriate that 5 of us decided to leave the game right then and there. I do not blame you. We can see that the GM and the partner were only playing for themselves. Us 5 met up separately and completed the campaign with one of the players stepping the GM the finale. 2 of us from the 5 still play together today. I guess the point of this essay is to be very careful when you're joining a group of strangers and make sure all the safety tools are in place. Our group definitely didn't have any of those when embarked in a train wreck that ended up being. If there is going to be a large disparity in age when it comes to personalities involved and mesh well. The GM's partner in the story was in their early 30s and the players they kept clashing with were 18 to 21. Safe to say there would have been some immaturity issues there. Stay safe everyone and enjoy your TRPGs. Whew boy, that is a wicked story. Alright, first off, that GM should not be GMing. They don't seem to have a proper balance of what the players need and or what they need to actually do things. One, the party wasn't properly leveled up, they didn't have the spells they needed, they only had the spells they were doing at first level, and it just isn't a good idea to have players play that way because they're stuck with what they have to begin with. 2, I believe that the whole relationship thing going on in the story needs to be talked about beforehand in-game if it's going to happen anyway. In my D&D games, if a player wishes to romance an NPC or another PC, they need to talk to both me, they either need to talk to me for an NPC, or the other player and me for the story to actually happen. Because I want to make sure that I understand what is going on in the game to make sure I'm not randomly thrown off by anything about this kind of stuff. Because I'm autistic and I have an issue reading those kind of messages. I need to know when those kind of things happen so I know how to use the proper context. But this DM just threw it out of the open. I don't know if this group had a session 0 because, as well as I think that sexual stuff was off the table because as soon as something sexual like that happened, the rest of the group left. As well as that, just they were just having sex with the Minotaur the entire time. Why were they doing that? What was the point? Was it a fetish thing? Was it just to show, to say, hey, fuck you, I'm getting fucked? I don't know what that is. I don't know why that's a thing, why they were doing that. It doesn't make sense. But overall, I'm glad that the 5 of you were able to get out of that situation and finish the game, and 2 of you are still playing together. It sounds very nice to actually have that kind of group and stuff like that. I have a group like myself on Saturdays where I play with a group of friends. But that DM shouldn't be running and that player shouldn't be playing because it seems like all they want to do is disturb people. That shouldn't be a good thing to DM's partner. Well guys, that's the end of this D&D horror story reading. I hope you enjoyed this new style of content. It's just a little thing to hold us over while I work on other projects, and I hope to see you guys soon. See ya!